Howdy, folks. Welcome to Trump and Media. Today we're here to talk about Kimberly Chavez Lopez Byrd. And I'll just start out by saying that, it's sad. This is a tragedy. Anytime we lose someone, especially a teacher. This woman had been teaching for 38 years in Arizona, and she passed away recently from the COOF. And the reason why I'm covering her today is because of how this is being handled in the media. Normally, an elderly person, or 61 if you want to consider that elderly, they pass away, and it doesn't usually make national and even international coverage. But the reason why this story is gaining so much ground is because it is being used as a reason to keep schools closed in the fall. And because every single news outlet is leaving out some important details on this, I'm covering it today. So, as you can see, she looks pretty good for 61. If these are recent pictures, you'll see in a lot of these news outlets they say undated picture. They don't tell you when these pictures are taken. It actually took me a while to find her age. Oh, it looks like they're getting better about that. So she was 61. I originally found that in the a British news outlet, but you can see here, if you do a search for this woman's name, it is being covered by everybody. Just hundreds and hundreds of news outlets. So the reason why that is this right here. You can see today at the White House press conference, they brought her name up.
Kimberly Byrd, a school teacher in Arizona, died, however, when she was following all the rules. She wore a mask, she wore gloves, she was teaching summer school, she got it, died. 2 other teachers got it and are ill. Her family, her husband, her daughter. How do you tell parents of school children that it's safe to send their kids back to school when something like that happens?
Well, I would point you to the words of
Okay. Now, as you can see right there from this guy, and if you're familiar with White House press briefings, these people don't ask legit questions. Like, they literally already have something that they're trying to spin ahead of time, and they're looking for specific words. They do it all day long, every day. It's really kind of exhausting watching that. But if you look at this article, I went ahead and used this source. This is out of Sacramento. We're going to lose a lot of teachers. Coronavirus kills beloved Arizona educator. Well, it does mention her age, 61, but it also mentions her underlying conditions. Oh, not only that, he said she was teaching summer school. She was teaching a virtual class. She was all the kids were already at home. There were no kids. She was in a room with 2 other teachers teaching a virtual summer school class. Where can I find it here? Virtual, you see right here. With kids stuck at home, Byrd shared a classroom with 2 other teachers for a virtual summer school program. Teachers wore masks, gloves, sanitized equipment regularly. We were very careful, said this teacher. Okay, now here's the significant part. This woman had lupus, diabetes, and asthma. And she was obese. It doesn't say that, but you can tell from the pictures very much so that obesity was obviously one of her underlying conditions. So she had 4 underlying conditions, and she was 61. And in my opinion, she was definitely in the high-risk category. I understand if they feel that, they were taking all the precautions, but these were 3 people in a room by themselves, going way above and beyond, keeping everything sanitary. They used separate materials and equipment. They did not share, pencils or anything like that, or anything. It says right here, I've seen this mentioned a lot. It doesn't say specifically, but all the places I've seen, it says her colleagues say her death serves as a warning as national leaders, including President Donald Trump, Secretary of Education DeVos, push for a full reopening of schools. And if you're interested in seeing the details of how they're going about that, I urge you to watch the White House YouTube channel, where they have a 3-hour long question and answer with multiple panels of the people that they've got set about to handle the logistics of all that. It's a whole panel of experts. There's a lot of people involved, and that's discussed in a lot more detail in that video on the White House YouTube channel. So just for a second, let's take a look at lupus real quick. I thought this was really interesting. I didn't know what lupus was. But lupus is an autoimmune disease, first of all, which it looks like this virus is especially dangerous if you have an autoimmune disorder, which is also diabetes. It doesn't say which diabetes she had, type 1 or type 2. But she had 4 underlying conditions, which is, I think in Chicago, 77% of the people that died of this virus had at least 2 underlying conditions. So you got to be very careful if you have underlying conditions. But here on the lupus.org, it even says when you have lupus, you are at an increased risk for all kinds of infections. There are 2 main reasons for this high risk. First, lupus itself can make infections occur more often. The way lupus affects the immune system can sometimes limit the body's ability to fight off foreign invaders, such as bacteria and viruses. Second, people with lupus often take immunosuppressive medicines to control their overactive immune system. I think this is really important because it doesn't say anything about this, because if she was on a medication to suppress her immune system, that would have made it even worse. These drugs limit the ability of the body's immune system to respond and can leave a person more open to infectious agents. So this woman should not even been outside, I guess. She should have been completely quarantined. I mean, maybe it does show to the personality of this woman that, she was willing to, go against these risks, that, she cared so much about her students, which is great and all. But it's really sad that this is being used, it's being politicized right now, this poor woman. And of course, they're not mentioning any of the facts. And just to add to that, I want to show you, the media and the left, they are so desperate to back any narrative that they're trying to push. They will dig through all the news outlets to find it. Especially in these kinds of cases, Trump wants to open the schools, so they're not going to open the schools. And they will try and find every reason they can to keep them from opening, despite what all the experts in the CDC and everyone else is saying. But just to give you a really good example, and I hate to show any humor in this because it's sad when anyone dies, but the way that they are wording some of this stuff is really hilarious. I mean, they've been trying to point out problems in young kids for a long time. I forget, there was another underlying condition that was having some interesting effects with this virus. I can't remember what it was, but they were trying to say, I don't even remember what they were trying to say. They dropped it because it was ridiculous. But just to show you, look at this right here. You have CNN, healthy teenager who took precautions died suddenly. And here's a picture of this boy. And this is sad because, they don't give a crap about these people. They just want to be able to exploit situations to their own ends. But this one is especially hilarious because healthy teenager, I can't find anywhere what this kid's weight was, but it was obviously pretty high. So this guy obviously studied from obesity to a massive degree. And I think one of the biggest things here is down here you can see, where is it? Right here. No, that's not that. Here it is. Okay. Although Andre had no underlying medical conditions, obesity is absolutely considered an underlying medical condition. And this guy was huge. And the first thing doctors discovered was that he had developed type 1 diabetes. His blood sugar was 10 times normal. I mean, that is insane. 16 years old, the guy is huge. If I had to guess, I mean, he's definitely over 300 pounds as a 16-year-old. He has type 1 diabetes and doesn't even know it. And I looked this up too. Type 1 is on CDC. Type 1 diabetes is thought to be caused by an autoimmune reaction. The body attacks itself by mistake. Again, another autoimmune situation. Attacks the cells in the pancreas that make insulin. This process can go on for months or years before any symptoms appear. And if you look into this guy's particular case, he, I think, was having a type 1 reaction in the beginning, and then he tested positive later, which, according to the false negatives that I read, that would mean that he pretty much got infected like the day they brought him to the hospital. So, I mean, you could very easily say he might have caught the virus when he entered the hospital, because possibly, according to the data that they released at Johns Hopkins, the day that you're infected, that they can't, you'll test negative, and then after 4 days, there's about 33% chance that you'll test positive. And then once you get down to about like 5 or 6 days, then it goes up to like 80%. So he was, and that's when they show symptoms. So really, unless they got a really bad false negative in the beginning, his initial symptoms weren't even caused from coronavirus. Like his initial symptoms were caused from a reaction of having this type 1 diabetes. But they try to describe him as a healthy teenager with no underlying conditions. I mean, this is just 100% false. And the reason why they're doing this is because they want to scare you, right? They want you to think that your kids are at risk, but they're not unless they already have major underlying conditions. Anyways, that's the point that I wanted to make. You're going to continue to have people in the White House press room politicize these situations. I imagine we're going to be hearing about Miss Byrd for many days to come as reasons to keep the schools closed. And I'm going to try and make some more videos, well, at least on the school situation. In my opinion, the school situation is more important than anything else we've dealt with this year. The rest of the world is opening up their schools because they know better. And keeping our schools closed for a year is so detrimental. I don't even think people have a clue as to what that will do to the future. You do not want the schools to be closed for another year, especially when they don't need to be. Anyways, thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned something, and I'll talk to you again real soon.